To thee, O champion leader and trophy bearer, O Saint George, do we offer a hymn of praise.
At the Saviour's command, and formed by divine teaching, we dare to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
We have a couple of questions that we need to answer. The first question was, where is it? About when it says that Joseph knew not his wife until she gave birth to her firstborn son. This knowing, in our knowledge, we would think of that, and that's what the Protestants thought. Hold on. And just, I'm sorry to digress, but I want to get this out. If you look at the Reformation, there were many things that Martin Luther correctly believed that should be changed. It should be corrected in the Roman Catholic Church. But it's like anything else. Once you start a war, it just keeps going, and that's what it became, a war. So everything got questioned. Okay? So one of the problems that they had was the over-veneration they felt of the Virgin Mary. So they were looking for something that Mary was not so special. So for the first time in like 100,000 years, they started to question about Mary. And they used it, they said, he knew not his wife until she bore her first son. So in this day and age, we would think of that, and they did the same thing, that he had no sexual relations with her, knew her. However, in those days, men did not see a woman's, private part, okay, unless they were married. I mean, unless she was, a woman of the night, okay? So not knowing her did not refer to the fact that he had sex with her. Because what happened, when Jesus was born, who was there to help deliver the baby?
Joseph was there.
Who?
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph. There's only one real, the animals. Okay, so as she's giving birth to that child, he's seeing her, and that's what that meant. He knew not his wife. The other verse that was questioned was, it said that they said to him, your mother and your brothers. Okay, which is again in St. Matthew's, the Gospel of St. Matthew. The brothers is not, okay, for example, if you go to the First Baptist Church, everybody's your brother and your sister, okay? I remember a black guy years ago when they started that stuff about bro. Go, yeah, bro, hey, bro, hey, bro. So I said, let me ask you a question. What do you call your mother's other children? He said, what? I said, if everybody's your brother, what do you call your mother's other children? Which meant that you're using the word in a very loose way. So the idea of brothers, if you look at the people that are mentioned there, they're all the children of somebody else. Okay. Thirdly, is that James is referred to as a brother of the Lord. James was a child of St. Joseph's first marriage. So he would be a step-brother. But they're not going to say step-brother. I mean, you're talking about a part of the world where people use very flowery language. Okay? But the proof that Mary had no other children is not there. It's just, I'm just showing you why those don't say that realistically that she did. The proof that she had no other children was the fact that according to Jewish law, children had to take care of their parents when their parents couldn't take care of themselves. So if Mary had other children, then why would Jesus on the cross turn to St. John the Divine, who's no relative of Jesus, and say, behold your mother, and then he turns to Mary and says, behold your son. He means it allegorically that St. John's going to take care of the Virgin Mary because she has nobody else to take care of her. And while we might, in this days of freedom of women, that isn't a big deal. But remember, in those days, women were either at home and the daughters of somebody. God bless you guys. Thank you. They were married. Okay, they were married. That's the way it was. That was the society the way it was. So they're worried, who's going to take care of the Virgin Mary? And that's when he turns to John and says, behold your mother, and to her, behold your son. She had no other children. So therefore, since Joseph never had sex with her, is it right to call Joseph the husband of Mary?
No, he's the betrothed.
If you get married, to this day, if you get married and do not have sexual relations with your spouse, the marriage is not considered valid. The basis of an annulment is where there's been no sexual relations. That's why again, I'm not picking on them, in the Roman Church, when they give an annulment with somebody that had 4 children, say, where'd you get the children from? You picked them up on the street? They had relations. It's not an annulment. Annul means it's not void, it's not valid, and therefore we are showing that it's annulled, okay? When they give annulments, that's really a divorce. They just want to call it annulments, okay? So Mary and Joseph never actually married her. Why would he not marry her? Now let's get practical. Were the Jewish people afraid of God? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You do one little thing, man, you're going to get smacked in the head. That was their history. Every time they did something wrong, boom. Now, put yourself in Joseph's place. You're an older man. If you think that he married Mary for conjugal relations, he was like most men. Sorry, guys. They get married to have somebody take care of them. Okay? He needed a wife to take care of him. Okay? So if he's thinking of having relations with Mary, who the angel has said, this is God's instrument of the birth of his son. Jesus, a sacred vessel. Do you think that he's going to try and have a little hanky-panky? I would imagine that St. Joseph was all ears in case she wanted anything. Yes, dear. No, dear. I'll be right there. I don't want God to get mad. That's their mentality, okay? So that Mary and Joseph never needed to get married because there was no relationship like that. So he is known as her betrothed, the one she was engaged to. Again, that doesn't mean much in America today, but when in the old days, and in some Orthodox countries now, when you get engaged, that's almost like a sacrament. Okay, you don't break the engagement. The only reason, how many of you have been married in the Orthodox Church? Put your hand up. Okay, because I married you. Your betrothal to Sophia, did it take place the same day as the wedding? Yes. You know why? Because the church, people started to break the engagement. So the church said, look, this is a sacred thing. So to make sure they don't break the engagement, we're going to wait till the day of the wedding. The wedding is just the crowning. Okay, but that's why they tacked that on. Okay? You had a question.
Yeah, so I wanted, this is like my own curiosity. I wanted to get your insight on theology on the eschaton. I was listening to a guy watch. He was quoting a saint. I forgot exactly the name.
Wait, you got to speak a little louder.
Yeah, so you hear what I said at the beginning or not?
Most of it.
Yeah, so I wanted to get your insight on our theology on the...
Now we know if we saw God in his fullness, what would happen? He'd die. You wouldn't be able to, you couldn't handle it, okay? So God, it's like almost a reflection. If you know, every time there's a eclipse of the sun, they ask you to look through a smoky glass. Because if you look directly, you're going to go blind, all right? So the energies of God, all right, are more the actions of God, that you see him and you know him through them. Okay? When people say that Christ, is it possible for Christ to sin? Now think. Is it possible for Christ to sin?
The human part of it.
No. What does the word sin mean? Sin. Miss the mark. You're aiming for God. So how could God sin? He can't. He's the mark. Okay, he's the thing. So it's impossible for Jesus Christ to sin. Okay? All right. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Now I understood that part. I was just trying to get that, like because he was going in depth on it. I understand what you're saying. Like I didn't think about that.
Let me share this with you. I'm a lot closer to the end of the line than you are, God willing. Okay. The reason I don't think a lot about that, I don't waste my time with thinking about things that I don't know anything about. I don't know when that's going to happen. Okay? I'm more concerned about, is it too loud?
It's just too soft, I think.
Too soft? Well, I've been called many things, but soft. Okay. Who's the only person in this church that doesn't need a microphone?
Subdeacon Charles.
Subdeacon Charles. Yeah, you could hear him down the block. Okay, God bless him. All right, so I don't think a lot about the end times. Okay, let me give you an example. Nakeem, you're living home with your parents. I'm sorry, Isaiah. You're living at home with your parents. You're 12 years old. You and your brother, you have a brother? You're messing around. Okay? And he says to you, is mom here? So you're looking out for mom, right? If mom went away for the weekend, you wouldn't be looking out for her, right? But because she could come at any time. Okay, so the people that are always trying to read the signs as to when the end of the world's not going to end, but when the end times, if you want to call that, because they're trying to get ready. You should be getting ready every day, okay? And not just because the end might come, because that's a better way of living, okay? So, I mean, I love this story, but I was maybe 8, my brother was 11, or something like that. And my mother, she yelled at us for something. She leaves the room, El Stupido. I went like this. And she had peeked back and she nailed me. And that's when I got hit, okay? So the point is that people should be doing the right things because it's the best thing for them to do, not because the end is going to come. Because people back in the Second World War thought that Hitler was the Antichrist, and that was going to be the end. God bless you. I'll tell you something. Somebody brought me these chocolate chip cookies. They said, see if they're not better than Sophia. I ate one. I was like, you got to be out of your mind. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, any other questions? Alex.
It's kind of to piggyback off of what Isaiah was asking about the energies of God, because St. Gregory Palamas talks about the energies, essences distinction. So in his essence, God is unknowable, but you were saying we experience him through his energy, which is like the way he works in the world, the things that he does. The analogy that I heard, and I wanted to see if you thought this was a good way of conceptualizing it, is even us as human beings, we have a body and a soul, and sort of like a mind, let's say, and if somebody keeps their mouth shut and is totally unreactive, or for example like comatose, you'd say like, you have no way of knowing his essence. Like the essence would be like our mind, our soul, what we're feeling, what we're thinking. Unless we express that with our words, with language, like we write something down or we say something or show it to our body language, we're basically unknowable to those around us, like other persons. So in the same way, like we use our bodies to express something about our essences, God uses his energies to express something about his essence.
Is that what you were looking for?
No, I like what he said. I was like, my whole thing was,
Why would you not be able to know God fully? Okay, let me ask you one. Can you know God? Or let me rephrase. What would be the best way to know God?
Through his son.
What?
Through his son, Jesus Christ. Through the church?
In other words, when you see someone acting in a particular manner, made in the image of God, you're seeing God in them. That's why it's so important for people to understand that everybody is important. It's absolute, okay? If you don't understand that, because you don't see the image of God in them, okay? Now that image could get clouded, it can get thrown over, it can be difficult, but it's still there. That's why every person is valuable. So if I want to know God, I mean, there are people that I've known in my life, okay, that were very godly. They weren't God, but they were acting in a very godlike manner. And how I would know God from that is because the way they're acting was being motivated by their relationship with God. So the energies are more a reflection, okay, than actually knowing the essence of God. Okay, and if you couldn't, where else could you find that? Think about this. Where else could you find that? In yourself. If you go back and you really dig down to your real person, I know a lot of stuff has been thrown on, it's got lost, it got covered, or whatever it might be. But if you can go back to that, that is what profession does that? Psychiatrists do. They keep going back and back until they find the point at which the problem came, and then they identify it, and this problem that was massive because you didn't really know where it came from or what it was becomes very, very small. So and that's where when Nicodemus says, Jesus says, we have to be born again. He says, can you go back into your mother's womb? And one of my children, I don't know which one, but I said this before, one of them one time said, I didn't ask to be born. I said, well, go back in your mother. What do you want in my life? I mean, it's a stupid thing. I didn't ask to be born. Or the point is that he says you must become childlike. Why? Because when you're children, you're more innocent. So he's saying you got to push all these layers away of the stuff that you've been doing, that you've done, to go back to that childlike. That's why, I mean, when I saw, where is this one? Okay, I saw that baby last Sunday, okay, I was gravitated right over to her. Okay, not because she's a pretty girl, but she's a pretty girl, but the one's that innocent of that child. Okay, so in knowing God, we're going to know God more by the reflections of His being, of what He does. Okay, that's why when people tell you the world is hell, the world is not hell. Nobody in hell would ever say the world is hell, because it's so much worse in hell than this is. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, let's get back to the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. To receive communion, we're asking to be forgiven. It is imperative that before we approach the Holy Chalice, that we are at peace with one another. And this comes, I want to read this from St. Matthew, chapter 5, verses 23 and 24. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and they remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way, first to be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. And the study Bible says, peace with other believers is a requirement for worship. The liturgical kiss of peace, the beginning of the Eucharistic prayer, is a sign of reconciliation and forgiveness, preparing the faithful to offer the holy gifts at the altar. So, if I have a problem with somebody, before I take communion, I need to settle that problem. Now, sometimes you'll go to someone, I don't know if you've ever had this happen, you'll say, and you don't even think you did anything wrong, but you just want to make peace, okay? And you tell the person, I'm sorry. And they tell you something like drop dead. No. Has that ever happened? You went and you told somebody you're sorry, and they attacked you back. Okay, we said the story of St. Nicephorus. He kept asking for forgiveness, and this man was going to be a martyr, and he wouldn't forgive him until almost the end. And he said, forgive me. He said, no. And then the man made, he sacrificed to the gods and lost his martyrdom. What I'm getting at is that I've had that happen. I said, I'm very sorry. Please forgive me. And they said, no. Who's got the sin now?
The other person.
They do. Okay? They do. So when he says here about, I'm going to read that one more time. Okay, let's talk about the kiss of peace. Who's long? Christine? Hello? Christine? How long have you been a member of the Orthodox Church? How long?
66.
How long?
66.
Okay, when you were a younger girl in the Orthodox Church, did they have the kiss of peace? Did they have the kiss of peace when you were a young girl in the Orthodox Church? No, they did not. Okay? This is an ancient tradition. Okay? It was brought back to the church. But this, excuse me, if you don't mind, can I bother you?
Me?
Yeah, come here. Or Alex is right here. Okay, Alex, come here. This is the kiss of peace. Okay? All right. Christ is with us.
He's and always shall be.
Christ is with us. The answer is He is and always shall be. Not like, say what? Okay? The kiss, and this is not, and the kiss of peace is not, you don't have to shake hands. Okay? But the kiss of peace is not intended for you to be discussing who won the Super Bowl. Okay? It is Christ is with us. He is and always shall be. That's all. Okay? Why do we bow to the person before we receive Holy Communion? We're asking for forgiveness. So the forgiveness is very important because if you don't forgive, then you shouldn't be receiving communion. Now, before opening our mouth to receive, what is peace? Define peace.
I've heard it put as like the simple worldly definition is just the absence of violence.
Yeah, but that's worldly. I'm not using the worldly. What is the definition?
Actual understanding is like, especially you go back to like Jewish understandings, even like when you look at the word shalom, it's like a positive presence between two people, like this goodwill.
Shalom means nothing
and so,
broken, nothing missing, right?
Yeah.
Nothing missing, nothing broken.
Right. No enmity between people. It's actually the presence of, I would say, like love.
Yeah. Peace is not an absence of hostilities. Peace is a genuine connection and rapprochement between people. Okay? That is why, and excuse me, it's a good example. There is no peace between Israel and Jordan, and there's no peace between Israel and Egypt. They hate each other. There's just an absence of hostility. That's not a real peace. Okay? A real peace would be between England and France, who fought many, many wars, but now there's a real connection with them. Or look at France and Germany. There's a real peace there. Okay, so peace is that I have a positive relationship with that person. So what this is saying is that if you're not at peace in that positive relationship with someone, you need to correct it. If they don't want to correct it, now you say, okay, what am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to just think positively of them. Sometimes you have to walk away and leave a person alone. They don't want to hear it. Go ahead.
What about toleration?
Toleration?
To tolerate each other. That's not peace.
It's not peace, but it's better than fighting each other. Okay? But in tolerating someone, you can learn to appreciate them. Okay? For example, when I look at what's going on in Palestine, I can understand why the Jewish people feel the way they do. Okay, it makes it a little bit easier for me in dealing with them to say, yeah, you've got this terrible history and yada, 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 but that doesn't mean that it's right. Okay, so a tolerant person is basically a good opportunity. It's like Lent. It's an opportunity to build up your spiritual strength by you tolerating them. Okay, because we all have people at work or in school or in your life that you just tolerate them. They just aggravate you and you tolerate them. Okay, without forgiving others, God will. Okay, I said before, because Alex mentioned when it says the Lord will not forgive you. Why would your not forgiving others affect God forgiving you?
I think it's because God desires all people to be at peace with each other. So it's like heaven is all of us together and with love between us. So it's kind of an impossibility to, on the one hand, have that, and then also have enmity between people.
Well, if you cannot give to others what you're seeking, then you're blocking getting it. If you're so hardened that you will not forgive them, you are impeding the forgiveness from God. Because what are we called? We're called to be imitators of God. Okay, so you have to ask yourself why you're not forgiving. Now, is there any reason? Is there any rationale? Now, I'm going to be broad. Is there any rationale of why you would not forgive someone?
There are plenty of rationales.
Well, say it again.
They hurt you that bad.
Okay, they hurt you that bad. The rationale would be that they're going to do it again. Okay, so by not forgiving, what I'm really doing is I'm trying not to forget. I can forgive your action. You know the expression, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, so if you allow yourself to continually get attacked, you're doing something. What are you doing? Okay, for example, I'm not going to walk. Okay, legal description. Do we have freedom of speech in this country? Yes. Can you go into a theater and scream fire?
No.
That would be license. Okay, you can't do that. You could say, but you can't scream it out. So you may have the ability to forgive, but you're not forgiving because you don't want to forget it. So just remember it and let it go. Okay, I forgive what you did. I mean, I'm not going to tell you a story about how it happened to me 30 years ago. And this person said, how could you still be friends with the person? I said, I don't like what they did. I'm never going to forget what they did. I'm going to make sure that I'm not in that position again, but I still like them. So I'm separating the action from the actor. And you've had that, haven't you? Or people that you liked them and they did something, you didn't like them anymore. It was the action that made you not like them anymore. You already liked them from before. But what they did to you, okay, caused you not to. So as long as you identify the person with that action, you'll never forgive them. Okay, you'll never forgive them. But if you separate the action from the person, then you could still like them. Okay? Go ahead.
About that, like some people will say like, oh, I asked for forgiveness, you forgave me, but like you're treating me different, right? Because like, well, there's no longer that trust. I don't want to put myself in that situation. That's not being unforgiving. That's just being discerning and saying like, hey, I learned my lesson.
If they
Because
said
people
that
will
you're
say, oh,
okay,
that's not loving.
but
you
but
just
the,
don't
what
believe
you're
that.
saying is, by your action, it has somewhat changed the dynamic of this relationship. It has changed it. I can't go back and change that. What you did, it changed it. Okay, I'm trying to get past that, but I don't have amnesia, thank God, that I'm going to forget what happened. So it's up to them to then make sure they don't, if they really want that relationship, make sure they don't do it again. Okay, that's why when people come to confession, I mean, sometimes it's the same thing over and over and over, and I'll be like, hello, we're not seem to be getting anywhere. Okay, you had to take a concerted effort to stop doing this. You may still fall, you may still do it, but at least you tried. But some people like, I mean, you ever see a movie where that guy kills somebody and he's got someone else with a gun, and they said, he says, well, I already killed one person. What difference does it make? It makes a difference to the guy that the gun is being pointed at. Okay, so that's ridiculous. Okay, I did wrong. I made a mistake. Try and correct it. Okay, so communion is not some mechanical or magical thing. We do not receive forgiveness by just receiving communion. Because you come up and take communion, if you have not been forgiven or not given forgiveness, that communion is not going to change that. It's not some magical pill that we take. You have to make the effort. You've got to make the change. And I know it's not easy because our society does not forgive. Okay, I told you this before, one of the amazing things, if you study the Second World War, is how the other European countries can even talk to the Germans. I mean, the Nazis did some really horrific stuff. I mean, they really did. Okay, why are they able to reconcile?
Because they have a Christian heritage.
Because they're Christians.
Yeah.
Whether they be Protestants or Catholics or other, they're Christians. Okay, they learn this idea about forgiving. Okay, why do they not forgive in the Middle East?
There's no religious incentive.
Say it loud.
There's no religious incentive to it.
Because they're not Christians. If they were Christians, in fact, the one people, and this is not politics, the one people that the nationalists or the right-wing Israelis want out of Palestine are the Christians. They're not going to get rid of the Muslims, but they want the Christians out because the Christians are the only ones that could come up with a real peace and end all this stuff. The Muslims are not going to come up with it, and the Jewish people are not going to come up with it. That's why they want the Christians out of there, because then they could actually make a peace, which they don't want, but I'm not going to get into that. So as a Christian, you can learn to forgive, but if you think just taking communion absolves your sins, no. You have to really forgive that person. And what's we're going to get into the end. What's the mechanics that you could use to forgive?
I didn't understand the question.
What is the mechanic? What mechanic, or what could you do that would help you to forgive somebody else?
Like on our side?
Yeah, you want to forgive them. How could?
Understand that I could have done the very same thing.
Thank you. That's exactly it. I mean, then I could do the same thing. Okay, because I would never do that. Don't say you'd never do that. I mean, we had a lady, God bless her soul, she was half Serbian. And when they were killing each other in Lebanon during the Civil War, she said, oh my God, what kind of people are they? I said, really? I said, you push anybody that far, they're going to do stuff. Guess what happens? Bosnia. And they're slaughtering each other in Yugoslavia. And I said, didn't you tell me that? She goes, I knew you were going to tell me that. I said, yeah, because you push anybody. That's where the real Christian becomes a martyr. It's easy to react the way we expect everybody else to act. When you don't react that way, okay? We had a situation here at the church where somebody, God, talk to you later.
Good sermon today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Be safe.
Somebody actually spit in the face of somebody else.
Where?
It happened here. They spit in their face. I got to tell you something. You spit in somebody's face and you don't get a reaction, I want to know how that person did that, because most people, okay, you spit in their face, they're blowing, they're going, okay, and this person didn't react. And the other person said, do you realize what you did? Oh, I said, oh, do you realize what you did? You spit in their face, okay? So the point is that when I talked to the other person, I said, listen, please try to understand, if you were that upset, you could have done that. At first they said no, then they thought about it. I said, well, yeah, but I was really pushed. Okay, so the empathy really helps in forgiving that, yeah, I could have done the same thing. All right. We are aiming in the Divine Liturgy to become people of God, with a way of life, thinking and doing all that is pleasing to God. The Divine Liturgy is not an opportunity to sing songs. A young man came in before, I think it was Logan's brother. He said, "What's with the smoke?"
Oh, the incense. Oh, yeah.
What's with the smoke? Lady sat over there 30-something years ago from Lebanon. I said, we call her Auntie, you know, as respect. I said, "Auntie, you can't smoke in the church." She said, "You have smoke." I said,
Not the
"That's
same.
God's truth." I said, "What?" She says, "You have smoke." I said, No. This is not the same thing, okay? I said to the person, I said, do you ever hear the expression holy smoke? Holy smoke comes from incense. Do you know that? That's where, have you ever heard that expression? Holy smoke. It's kind of maybe long ago. You know what S-H-I-T comes from?
From there?
No.
I'm sorry. What?
When they say holy, I don't want to say the word.
Yeah.
Begins with an N, S ends with a T. In Rome, there is a church, Iglesia Sancto Terdo.
Church? Are you serious?
And this, I'm telling you, and they have a reliquary under the altar that has supposedly a turd from one of the animals in the manger. Now, first of all, my typical Brooklyn background was, how would you know that it was from, and even if it didn't glow, okay, but even if it was, it's garbage. It doesn't become holy because it was in the manger from an animal that was there that took but that's where that expression, holy blank, comes from, that Sancto Turdo.
I thought maybe from a saint.
No. Sancto Turdo. Okay?
Not even a saint, it's from an animal.
Any other questions? See, I tell you this stuff, you think I'm making it up. This is true.
I believe you.
Okay.
One of those trivia facts I need to remember.
Yeah, I know more stuff that nobody cares about, the stuff that I know. It's just baloney stuff. Okay. So when you come to liturgy, all right, and let's end on that. When you come to liturgy and you're lining up to receive absolution, be honest. How many people are actually thinking about the sins that they're asking God to forgive them for? Honestly.
On a good day.
On a good day.
On a good day?
No, he said on a good day.
Yeah, it should be. That's what the whole purpose is, to be thinking about. What is it I'm asking God, please forgive me for this. Okay? Because the reason you get specific is because when you think of it, then it helps you not to do it again. If it's just a blank, oh, God, forgive me for what I did, it doesn't mean anything. Okay? But God, please, God, forgive me for, saying a bad word or whatever it is, then it becomes something that's practical. Okay? Okay, thank you very much.
At the Saviour's command, and formed by divine teaching, we dare to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
To thee, O champion leader and trophy bearer, O Saint George, do we offer a hymn of praise.